Matt, when it comes to these rookies, these high-end rookies especially, and we're expecting them to go early in the second round, maybe even late in the first. Who knows? Where's the best landing spot for one of these rookies, especially if they go high enough for us to get really excited?
I think the one that sticks out like a sore thumb is clearly Buffalo. We just got really Devin Singletary there to worry about. And, he had some nice games towards the end of the season. But, if somebody like Breece Hall was to go there on like a luxury pick, kind of like Kansas City did a couple of years ago with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then, that on paper, that seems incredible, right? But I'm skeptical that it works out that way, both in terms of one of these top backs going there and in the usage.
Then you get into that list of the open spots like Houston, like Atlanta. Maybe even you could throw like the Jets in there and a few others. Ryan.
Seattle, I would say.
Seattle. That's worth talking about. Are those really that great of landing spots? Are we excited about one of these elite guys, or even Melvin Gordon, or one of these other veteran running backs that are still available? Are we going to get excited about those spots? Because it might be a year before that offensive line in Houston is ready to make holes for that running back. And these teams might be playing from behind so much that a running back, unless he's catching a lot of passes, might not be as productive as we need him to be in the short term.
Yeah, even with lack of competition in Atlanta and Houston, I would not be excited for those as landing spots for those top 2 or 3 rookie backs. I'm glad you mentioned the Jets, though, because I think one thing that we as dynasty managers are guilty of every year is overvaluing youth, and not just in trade talks or draft, but just the assumption that their job is safe. I know we saw it last year with James Robinson. Robinson coming off a very strong rookie year, one of the best rookie running back years we've ever seen for an undrafted free agent. And Jacksonville simply didn't care. I mean, we can maybe put that on their leadership at the time, but they still spent a first-round draft pick on a running back. And I look at the teams that could do the same thing this year, maybe not a first-rounder, but at least a day 2 pick. San Francisco, as great as Elijah Mitchell was as a rookie, and you talked about the Jets with Michael Carter, we're penciling in those 2 guys as locked-in starters, and I'm just not sure they're that safe right now.
And I think that list kind of goes on and on. Like one of these, there's a good chance that one of these top-end rookie running backs lands somewhere that we absolutely do not want them. What if Denver were to take somebody in the second round? That would just crush Javonte Williams. What if they ended up in Los Angeles with the Chargers, or in Washington with Antonio Gibson already there? And we're going to have to make some very difficult decisions post-draft, not only about the rookie that's incoming, but also this veteran, a guy like Gibson. What if Tennessee takes one and Henry takes a hit, or that rookie just sits behind him for a couple of years? What are we going to do when those types of things happen? It could be in Dallas with Zeke, or in Chicago with David Montgomery, or you mentioned San Francisco, Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas. The list kind of goes on and on. It feels like this happens at least once every year that we get disappointed, especially with these running backs. And I think we need to prepare ourselves to be devastated at some level when it comes to at least one of them.
We do, for sure. I mean, again, you look at the depth charts, and right now, Javonte Williams has really no one behind him. I mean, Mike Boone, say what you will about him, I guess, but really there's no clear backup there. Same thing with Saquon Barkley and the Giants. Same thing with Derrick Henry in Tennessee. And it seems like the Chargers try to find a 1B to Eckler every single draft. So, I mean, those are 4 teams that I could absolutely see drafting a running back as early as day 2.
And I would push back a little bit. I mean, not a ton. Obviously, I'm not excited about, the prospects of a running back in a place like Atlanta or Houston. But I will say that, we above all else, we want volume for our running backs, and they're going to get the volume there. So, and those really high end guys, if you want to just put Hall and Walker in that conversation, I'm fine with that. Those guys we expect to be able to produce in most situations. And with volume, I feel like they could both be okay in those situations, at least enough to maintain fantasy value from year 1 to year 2. So, I don't hate those maybe quite as much as you guys do.
What if the Bucks draft Kenneth Walker late first round, RB1, and then the Falcons draft Breece Hall early round 2. Who's your 101?
Man, I think I would still stay with Breece Hall, just because I want something. If I'm going to draft a running back highly in a rookie draft, in general, I want production pretty quick. Like that's the main reason to take it. If you're going to wait on production, then you might as well take a wide receiver who's going to last longer, and all that kind of stuff. So I think I would still stick with Breece in that scenario.
So I mean, there's obviously a lot of what ifs in this entire conversation, and 80%, 90% of what we're talking about won't necessarily
probably doesn't matter.
Won't necessarily come into play. But things like this are going to happen, and I think dynasty managers need to be ready for it. So that's why I think this conversation is valuable for me and hopefully for our listeners.
Matt, if you had to rank these teams, these potential landing spots for these wideouts, of course, Green Bay and Kansas City are going to be at the top. Who are the next few teams as far as where one of these rookies could end up that could bolster their ranking among all the rookies in rookie drafts?
Yeah, I'll throw out some that I'm not sure I've heard too much about, but Arizona is one I was looking at that seems pretty interesting. Maybe it's difficult to make an impact in year one with the old guard there and DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green, and we still have some hope for Rondale Moore. But after AJ Green rides off in the sunset and DeAndre Hopkins is not far behind him, there's really not any depth behind those top two guys. So that's one. I think there's certainly a spot. I know they addressed it with Diami Brown last season, but we have Terry McLaurin maybe potentially wanting out now. And nobody really wants to play for Washington, I guess. So a good way to do that is to get a rookie that doesn't really have a choice until after that first contract, right? So that's one I think is undervalued. And Dallas, they have CeeDee Lamb on lock, but Gallup is going to be out to start the season. So I think there's room there certainly to make an impact early on.
We see a handful of teams, Ryan, mocked these rookie wide receivers, and sometimes there's some surprises. I mentioned New Orleans. Philadelphia is also a common spot that you'll see somebody who's doing NFL mocks slide a wide receiver into that slot as well. So any others that really jump off to you?
Yeah, I think the top tier is 4 teams. Green Bay, Kansas City, we've already mentioned. Matt talked about Dallas. I think they're in the top tier. That's another offense we want a piece of. And Cleveland is the 4th for me. I think all 4 of those teams could potentially be in line to take a round 1 or round 2 wide receiver. Cleveland, of course, jumps into this group after adding Deshaun Watson. They did add Amari Cooper, but I think we saw from the past couple of years in Dallas, a rookie wide receiver, a good rookie wide receiver could at least be an equal, if not higher on the pecking order than my guy Amari. Tier 2 for me is 9 different teams, 8 or 9 different teams. Some of them need a wide receiver 1. Atlanta would be one of those. Most of them, though, just need a running mate, right? New Orleans with Michael Thomas, Indy with Michael Pittman. The Jets have Elijah Moore. So most of these teams have at least one solid wide receiver. They just need a clear second. The other thing I would throw in, and Matt kind of hit on it with Terry McLaurin, and we've talked about it. If not on the pod, then at least off the air, that the changes with these wide receivers this year with Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill and Christian Kirk, these guys are getting paid. And now Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, and Deebo Samuel want theirs.
All sitting out.
And if they do get traded, and when we can throw DK Metcalf in there as well, if any of those guys get traded, that's going to shake up this whole landing spot discussion in a major way.
There's a handful of spots we certainly don't want to see one of these top wide receivers land. And usually that's attached to either a coaching staff that we don't trust or a quarterback that we don't trust or a combination of both. If there's one team, Matt, that you really don't want to see your favorite, your number one dynasty wide receiver land with, even if it's high in the draft, which would that be?
I mean, New England has a terrible history of drafting wide receivers. Maybe they break that streak if they get one early in this draft, but I would have a hard time being excited about that one as well. Baltimore with the low volume, even Philly. I know they're going to draft one. You know, we all kind of see that, but with another kind of low volume passing offense, maybe not as excited to be there either.
Sure. Ryan, is there one for you?
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about the teams who could potentially spend day 1 or day 2 pick on a wide receiver, the two that I would just not feel great about are Philly and Chicago.
I knew you were going to go there with the Bears.
Yeah, I think Darnell Mooney is honestly more of a wide receiver 2 type of player. So if they do spend an early pick on a wide receiver, the good news is he would have a chance to be a wide receiver 1 potentially for the Bears and maybe in fantasy as well. But yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm not trusting that Bears offense, including Justin Fields right now. And in Philly, as much as they need a wide receiver, they've missed on multiple guys over the years. I don't know if I trust that regime to find someone either. I mean, Devontae Smith was solid last year, but they do have Smith and Goddard. They like to throw to their running back. So you could argue that a rookie might only be 4th in the pecking order there. Plus Jalen Hurts just runs so much that that's not an offense I want my wide receiver to go to.